So students, we are beginning with a new lesson today. We have already completed life process 2 and I have passed on the study material for that lesson. Everybody must have received it. Okay. And today we'll continue with a new topic, that is environment management. Okay. So be on the screen, everyone. Fine. So now this lesson from the science textbook now. I'm aware that you are having a separate subject also called environmental science, EVS. अलग से एक subject भी है school में, and for that you have a separate textbook also. Am I right? EVS है subject. बोलो. Do you have environmental science as another subject? या अभी नहीं है? You don't have this subject, EVS? Achha, then I think from 11th standard onwards. Okay, no problem. So ultimately, see, here the lesson is about environment management. It sounds quite simple, but you know very well what is happening to the environment these days. Correct? आज के generation में, like in our generation, your generation, the broad thing, if I say, it's like the air that we are breathing is not pure, right? The water that you are drinking is not very pure, and the food that we are eating has got a lot of chemicals. Do you agree with this? Correct. The environment is very badly affected these days. Like if you compare the environment of today with the environment say around 30-40 years back, is there a difference? Like of course you were not there that time, but you must have heard it from your parents or grandparents. Correct. There is a lot of difference. And if you are reading the newspapers and all, so you are aware what is happening in the world with respect to the environment these days. Abhi floods हुए थे. Correct. Then there are drought conditions which happen. Forests are being cut. Correct. बहुत सारे जंगलों में आग लग रहा है. Forest fires. Earthquakes are happening. Landslides are happening. Right. All these incidences are constantly increasing. Last year during the lockdown, there was a cyclone. This year also there was a cyclone. Yes or no? So all these are things which are happening in the environment and we are facing it. So the main point, why should we study this topic, is that only when your environment is good enough, we can all survive. And if we all survive, then everything else will go on smoothly. Correct? What are the basic needs of man? Human being का basic needs क्या है?
Food, shelter,
water.
Water is included in food. So it is food, shelter, and clothing. Okay. So food is something you will always require. You can take up any profession as your career, right? You can become anything in life that you want, but food is always required, right? You will always need a shelter wherever you go. You will need your own place to live. So all that is something which we depend upon in the nature. So in order to understand, in order to live a normal, healthy life, the most important requirement is that your environment should be good. Okay. So in simple terms, what is the environment? This lesson covers many aspects with respect to the environment. Everything is very important. Okay. So basically, if I ask you in simple terms, what do you mean by environment? What you will say? It's not a new word for you. बताओ क्या होता है environment? बोलो in your own words. Yes, Harsha.
Nature, surroundings.
Okay, surroundings. Okay, surroundings किसने बोला? Okay, Sundar, what is your answer? Nature and surroundings. Okay, anything else, Abhirami? Okay, simple terms में surroundings. whatever is there around you is your environment. Correct? So suppose like if you have to go out in the hot sun, it's a summer season and you have to go out in the afternoon. So you know very well that the environment is like very sunny, very hot. So can you change the environment if you want to go out? Do you have any switch कि चलो धूप बहुत है तो मुझे अच्छा नहीं लग रहा है, I will change something? You cannot do that. So what do? You adapt yourself. You wear loose cotton clothes, so you feel comfortable. You wear sunglasses, so you feel better. If it is raining, you take an umbrella or a raincoat or wind cheater. So you are protecting yourself. So it's like environment, first of all, are the things in your surroundings which you cannot change. You, in the sense, not only human beings, any organism cannot change the environment in which it is living. अब पोलर बेयर नहीं बोल सकते कि वहां मुझे बहुत ठंडी लग रहा है तो मुझे गर्मी चाहिए करो. It has formed over there, so it will adapt over there. A camel in Rajasthan cannot say कि यहाँ गर्मी बहुत है, I want ice. Right? So environment is going to remain the same. Right? Only thing, the organism has to adapt. So there will be one picture right now on the screen, a small normal picture. You have to look at the picture and tell me which are the living components and which are the non-living components in the environment which you are seeing. Ready, everyone? Easy question,
Yes.
very easy question. Okay, so just observe the picture. First of all, tell me what are the non-living components. One by one, you tell. Bolo. I want everybody to answer. Come on, it's a Shantini बैठने. Ishika, are you there?
Yes, sir.
Not able to see you. Video पे आओ.
सर वो घर पे लाइट नहीं है, लाइट का प्रॉब्लम हो गया है.
चलो. Observe the screen. One by one, tell me what are the living components and what are the non-living components. Some of the non-living components you may not be able to see in the picture, but they are there. Bolo. Non-living components क्या क्या दिख रहा है इस picture में?
रॉक.
Rocks. Okay. Then yes, you can see small rocks and all over here. Correct. और क्या दिख रहा है? Come on, a very childish question I'm asking. अरे इतना सोच रहे हो? You'll come out with a treatment for cancer, I suppose. बोलो, अभिरामी. Non-living things क्या दिख रहा है इस पिक्चर में? बोलो, सुंदर, हर्षा. अरे ऐसे शांत क्यों रह रहे हो? बोलो. Speak up. Yes, Sundar has answered one thing, that is correct. He has mentioned a non-living thing as air. You cannot see that, but you know it is there. Air or the wind, right? ये क्या दिख रहा है इधर पीछे बताओ?
रिवर.
It's a
River.
river, so it contains what?
Water.
So water भी non-living ही हुआ ना? Right? So rocks, या stone, या soil, right? You can see air or the wind. You can actually know that it is there. You can see water over here. Yes or no? You can make out from this picture that it is the daytime which is shown. So light है वहाँ पर. Right? Now if I ask you, what are the living things that you are seeing in this picture? बोलो.
Trees.
Yes, you can see trees. Very good. Or
Animals.
Grass.
Animals.
try and tell the names of some animals.
Deer.
You can see
Sparrow.
deer, sparrow,
Squirrel.
squirrels,
Squirrel. Pigeons.
pigeons.
Birds.
You can see some birds. One more thing you can see among the living things.
Grass.
Hmm?
Grass.
Yes, you can see grasses, right?
Mushrooms.
Correct. You can see these mushrooms on the tree trunks, right? Actually, they are not mushrooms or bracket fungus करके बोलते. They are fungi, but different types of fungi. But it was a good guess. Mushroom जैसे दिखते हैं. Okay. You can see rabbits. Okay. Then what else can you see? You can see small mosses and lichens growing on the tree trunks. यहाँ पत्थर के ऊपर भी green color का दिख रहा है देखो. Right? And there is one more thing which you cannot see in the picture, but again you know that it is there among the living things. And वो है, any guess?
Chameleon.
Okay, they can be there, but there are lot of microorganisms present. Correct? If you take any part of the tree trunk or the soil or even some bodies of the animals and all, yes, there are microorganisms also present, and they are also living things. So this entire thing, this picture and all its components that you saw, okay, here you saw that there are living things and there are non-living things, both are present together. Okay, now tell me, those living things and the non-living things, are they totally independent of each other or they dependent upon each other? What do you say? Any living thing is dependent upon any non-living thing in this picture, yes or no? क्या
Dependent.
बोलते हैं? Dependent.
Dependent.
Dependent. Abhirami, are they dependent?
Dependent.
Yes.
Yes, sir.
Ishika will also answer dependent.
Yes, sir.
Majority wills. Yes, they are dependent. The deer will eat the grass. The grass needs water to grow. The tall trees, they need light. Even all the small plants, they need light. The squirrels need the fruits on the tree. Correct? All the plants are ultimately growing on the soil. So there is a complete dependency of organisms with each other. Correct? So this entire picture, now you observed so many things in this picture, but the one main thing is that this small picture, which is a very common one, it is of a tropical forest. Forget tropical, it's a forest. Correct? You can understand it's a small, simple forest picture. And in this one picture, you were able to find so many components. So based on that, now you can define the environment easily. Okay. So what is the meaning of the word environment now? See, environment means it has got two main types of components, both a biotic and abiotic components. Biotic simply means the components which are living ones, like we saw animals, birds, insects, and all. Abiotic means non-living components. Okay, so in that one picture, you saw that there were interactions between both of them. Correct? Both the components were interacting with each other. So this study, when you do, how they interact with each other, how they are dependent upon each other, that study, that science is known as ecology. Okay, that science or that study is called as ecology. So ecology is not just about study of the environment. People generally assume it to be very simple कि environment के बारे में तो पढ़ना है, but this is a specific answer to that. Ecology means what? Yes, it is a study of the environment, but more specifically, it is a study of the interactions between the biotic and abiotic components in the environment. That's a more appropriate answer. Okay, and as you have seen this one example in the picture, like that there can be different types of environments everywhere. Like it is not a forest in every place. Correct? So when you talk about the subject that is ecology, it's a totally different subject and a very important subject. Okay, ecology, when you study something called ecosystem. Okay, under ecology, like any one part of an environment when you study as one complete unit, one independent unit. Like one forest is a completely independent forest. Okay, so ऐसे एक यूनिट को हम बोलते हैं इकोसिस्टम. ठीक है, so it's like I'll show you this way. The word over here is ecosystem. Okay, so when you say ecosystem, it's like the word includes the word system. Correct. So when you say system, it means it is an enclosed unit like this. Consider like this. So in the world map, you might see a forest. That is one system. But that system should have its own fixed boundary. You should know where that system ends and system where it ends. That is one criteria. Secondly, that system should have abiotic component as well as biotic component. You cannot call any unit as an ecosystem if it is having only abiotic or only biotic components. Only biotic is anyways not possible. But only abiotic अगर होगा वहाँ life होगा ही नहीं, so you cannot call it as an ecosystem. It has to have both, and they should be interacting with each other in every possible way. Like in that picture which you saw, you know very well that all the organisms, the deer, the animals, the birds, the mushrooms, everything, they are also carrying out respiration. So they are taking in the air which is there in that ecosystem, and they are giving out carbon dioxide to the same air. So that is also an interaction. Correct. So whenever such an interaction takes place, that one such entire unit is called ecosystem. Is it clear, everyone? Okay. The meaning
Yes,
of the
sir.
word ecosystem is clear. Any doubt? Okay. Just a second. Okay. So we have seen the meanings of two different words over here. One is ecology and the other one is ecosystem. Okay. Ecology means the study. Whenever the word ends with logy, it means study. And what you are studying becomes a part of it. Okay. That way you have to understand. So coming to the meaning of ecosystem now, we have seen the definition, the different components of the ecosystem in general. If you are calling any particular unit as one ecosystem, then what are its components? We have already seen that the first component is the abiotic component, which means they are the non-living components of the ecosystem. Okay. And the other one is the biotic component. That means all the living things in that ecosystem. So when you say abiotic component, they can be physical components. Physical component means like you can say water. No, not water, sorry, light. Light is an example of a physical component. Because in science one, you must be studying about light also. You'll study ray diagrams and all. You know very well they are short electromagnetic radiations of short wavelength. Even sound. Correct? They are all physical components. Second is chemical components. Here you will include examples like water, because that's a chemical. Air also will come under this chemical, because air has its own mixture of gases having their own formula. Okay, so when you say abiotic components, they are physical or chemical. Physical mein example would be light, and chemical mein example would be water, even soil for that matter, because it is having a lot of minerals in it. Okay, then biotic components means like you cannot classify it further because you are including all the different living organisms present in it. So all living organisms means what? You will talk about all the animals, the birds, the plants, the insects, the microorganisms, even other human beings, if they are. Any organism which is a living organism. ठीक है? So that's how you can divide the different components of the ecosystem. Clear everyone? Okay. Now, based on that, ecosystem can be classified into different types. Okay. There are different ways of classifying it. Let us see the first criteria, like depending upon who has made the ecosystem. You can call it either natural ecosystem or an artificially a man-made ecosystem. The words are very clear. So suppose if I say garden, so a garden will be natural or man-made?
Artificial or man-made?
It's artificial man-made, because human beings make a garden. Nature does not make a garden on its own. But if I say grassland, it is
Natural.
natural. A grassland is formed on its own in the nature. So simply speaking, natural ecosystem means where human beings have not contributed anything to make that ecosystem. Okay, but human beings can change that ecosystem. Okay, artificially or man-made matlab when human beings have made the ecosystem. So if you say a biodiversity park within a city, you can call it as an artificial one. Any zoological park, botanical garden, is some artificial. Or there are artificial lakes which are created. Lakes or small tanks, small water bodies which human beings make. So man-made. Like that you can give different examples. Natural में तो बहुत सारे आएंगे. A desert, a grassland, a forest, a snow-capped mountain, any water body. Correct? Yes, sir. Natural. So natural and artificial are clear. Okay. Then the other way to classify is based on the size of the ecosystem. How big or how small they are. So if an ecosystem is very large, we call it macro ecosystem. And if it is a small one, we call it a micro ecosystem. Simple, correct? So when you say macro, it means a large one. So you can say a large ocean can be an example of a macro ecosystem. Okay. On the other side, just a small drop of water can also be a micro ecosystem. Okay. And it's like when you're classifying the ecosystem, any one ecosystem can be of more than one type also. So if I say a large ocean, it is a macro ecosystem as well as a natural ecosystem. Correct? That is the meaning, because an ocean is formed naturally. Human beings have not made it. So natural we have, and it, at the same time, it is a large one. So it is a macro ecosystem also. Same way, the third criteria is in what type of a state of matter is the ecosystem. So when you say aquatic ecosystem, you know the meaning of this word. It contains water. So any natural water body, any water body, in fact, why only natural? It's an aquatic ecosystem. So aquatic ecosystem can be a terrestrial or a freshwater. Sorry, not terrestrial. Aquatic can be a marine or a freshwater or estuarine. Three types of them. Marine का मतलब है where the water is salty. So seas and the oceans. Okay. Freshwater means where the water is not salty. So rivers, ponds, lakes, waterfalls, streams, all these are examples of fresh water. And estuarine, estuarine. Estuarine का मतलब है like a swampy region where the geography में पढ़ा होगा where the river meets the sea. That delta region. दलदल वाला area, swampy or marshy places. Then it is called estuarine season. वहाँ पे salt content ज़्यादा रहता है. So mangroves type ecosystem, वो aquatic mangrove. Okay, and terrestrial matlab on the land. So if I say grassland again, so it is terrestrial as well as a macro ecosystem and a natural ecosystem. So any given ecosystem you can classify into 3 different types like this. You understood this? Examples of समझा अच्छे से?
Yes.
Okay. So now quickly what we'll do, there will be some random pictures on the screen of ecosystems. Observe that and tell me where will you classify it out of the 3 types. Okay. First one. Bolo. Identify the ecosystem first.
Natural.
Natural.
It is natural. But पहले identify करो. Which one is it? It's a desert. Correct. So it is natural. Okay. First, second one.
Macro ecosystem.
Macro ecosystem.
Macro. Yes. And thirdly,
Terrestrial.
Terrestrial.
terrestrial. Now you understood. Okay. One more. ये बताओ. Identify first.
Natural.
Yes. It is which type of an ecosystem? पहले वो बताओ. Which ecosystem? Like जैसे ये desert था, तो ये क्या है?
Forest.
So forest. Correct. So natural. Okay. Second,
Macro ecosystem. Terrestrial.
macro, terrestrial. All of you agree with it?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Yes. Correct. Next. ये बताओ. पहले नाम बताओ ecosystem.
Macro.
पहले नाम
Micro.
बताओ. Desert हो गया, forest हो गया. Which one is this?
Field.
It's an agricultural field. Okay. Now tell. Classify.
Natural macro ecosystem and
Terrestrial.
Agricultural field is natural,
Man-made.
right? No, nature creates a field on its own. No? This is something which human beings create. In fact, हम लोग forest वगैरह को cut करके field बनाते हैं. So it's an artificial or a man-made one. Okay. Second,
Terrestrial.
terrestrial, correct. And size के हिसाब से,
Micro ecosystem.
it's again a macro ecosystem, a large one. Okay. Then ये बताओ. This one.
water droplet.
Water droplet, correct. So क्या बोलेंगे? Classify.
Natural.
Yes. It can be natural or artificial. That is something we cannot make out from the picture there. Correct? Because if I take water and sprinkle on a leaf or something, then it is artificial. If the dewdrop is found on its own, it is natural. So it depends. Okay. Then
Micro ecosystem.
yes, this is an example of a micro, a small one. And thirdly,
Aquatic.
aquatic. Agreed, everyone? Ishika, सुन रही है?
Yes.
समझ में आ रहा है?
Yes.
Okay. Next one. What is it?
Artificial or man-made.
पहले नाम
Park.
तो बता. सुंदर एकदम शताब्दी एक्सप्रेस. बोलो बोलो.
Park.
Garden.
It's a garden. Correct. Now tell.
Artificial or man-made.
It's artificial या man-made. Correct. Then
Macro.
macro,
Terrestrial.
terrestrial. Correct. Last one.
Natural.
Natural. Identify नहीं कर रहे. Direct classification शुरू. Yes, सुंदर. बोल.
Sea.
चलेगा. It's a sea or an ocean. Okay. Then
Macro ecosystem.
macro
Aquatic.
and aquatic.
Aquatic.
Easy to identify now. अभी concept समझ में आ गया ecosystem का अच्छी तरह से. Okay, fine. So we have seen the meaning of the word environment. Then we have seen the meaning of the word ecology and ecosystem. We have classified ecosystem into different types. We have seen the components of an ecosystem and how they interact with each other. Okay, and we have seen the different ways in which we can classify any ecosystem. Okay, so